What up, naughty steppers? It's Connor Whitmore here again with another video for you on the Nawtystep channel, and it's time for another volume from the 10 Amazing Underrated series, where I go over 10 tracks from a specific dark electronic music genre that I still absolutely love and feel deserve more appreciation and attention. Songs that have stood the test of time for me personally. And for this installment I'm going to be delving into the bass house genre. A style of music in its infancy relative to other genres from the dark electronic music scene that have been around for years, thinking of dubstep, trap, drum and bass. But thanks to producers such as Jauz, Ghastly and Valentino Khan infecting the house structure with grislier, moodier sounds back in 2014 and 15 originally, we now have a dark house genre with a pretty substantial catalogue behind it. So much so that people have even been complaining a fair bit recently about the influx of it on SoundCloud. Hard to tell in some cases what constitutes exactly as bass house, when it becomes G house or other forms of dark house, thinking of Drezzo in particular. But I'm pretty sure all of the tracks that I've selected here fall into the bass house category. A genre that for me best represents the ridiculous amounts of energy that electronic music can bring to the table. I was saying this to my fellow music reviewer Landon Remixes a couple of weeks ago. Dubstep and drum and bass shows are great, but there's something truly special about the vibe of a bass house show. It's another level of energy. This is a very important genre for me in terms of experiencing the brutality of dubstep through a groovier, more upbeat rhythm. It's a fantastic concept that I'm surprised wasn't brought into the bass ether earlier. I have listened to more than enough of it now to have a multitude of tracks from the genre that I love and feel deserve way more attention. The list for the second volume is already set to go. But for me, these songs, 5 originals and 5 remixes, show just how great the bass house genre can be, and hopefully I can do them some verbal justice in this video. No particular order to these tracks, just gonna give you some things that I love about them, and play the odd clip every now and then to make it clear exactly what I'm talking about. And so, without further ado, I bring you the first track in the underrated bass house series, Hoodlum by Joyryde. A legend in the bass game generally already, and one of the main proponents for the bass house genre, with tracks such as I Wear House, Hot Drum and The Box. But for me, Hoodlum doesn't get enough appreciation as one of his first few tracks that really provided the platform from which everything else could be released. Starting off with a tight, punchy opening full of sirens and lasers and snappy percussion, all comes together really well. It's properly organic and pure. I love the tense feeling that he creates here while still maintaining that party vibe. The build is momentous, a real grandeur to it. You know something is up. A tension that extends into the midsection, which is just like that original build but stretched out even more. And the drops, well, the note placement is incredible. That vocal chopping over the thick fuzziness that lies underneath. It's just got a really resurgent energy that's impossible not to move to. The juxtaposition between all of these high-definition squeaky sounds and the grunge that props everything up, it just works really well. Every sound is there to be appreciated. Just so ridiculously well cut for a track that fits so much in, one of his lesser-known bangers for sure. Now, another one of bass house's most popular artists, Just Say Yes, has had a steady flow of releases over the last couple of years. I think we all know who he is an alias of by now, but just in case some of you don't, I'm gonna leave it because he may not want me to say. A soothing opening to this remix that doesn't prepare us for what's gonna come at all. Vocal is mysterious, almost misleading in luring us into its mystifying depths. And the sheer energy of this drop, I mean, this is what bass house is all about. The sound is so clear, all of the notes are so on point. Just a great flavour to this drop. That chugging section that I just played following the initial release of the drop is probably my favourite part of it. Proper naughty. Pretty simple structure, but so much going on in terms of sound, the layering of everything, goes through several different emotions too. Just such a cheeky track, deserves recognition amongst the best bass house remixes in my opinion. Now, as I said at the start of the video, one of the main instigators for the bass house genre was Jauz, whose massive track Feel the Volume somewhat kick-started the movement. But he's got some serious bangers that aren't quite as well known from around that time too. I love the chilled, ethereal vibe to the opening of this remix, like a haze, teasing us with the lead melody from the original as well. And I love the twisted build with the frantic percussion, melody getting manipulated, the wubs underneath. It's absolutely golden. And the drop is an interesting one because it's not the most appealing sounds, but it works in a weird way. The bounciness of it, bringing the melody in, it just does its thing. And the progressions to those drops with all the screechy sounds and their breakdowns, absolute dubstep madness that fits in really well amongst all the bass house stuff. Woo! Just a really great take on the original, a song of contrast that completely transforms the main riff in a really astute way. Now, one of the producers kind of teetering on the edge in terms of being well known is Seek and Destroy, who has some seriously good tracks to his name, but Rap Stars is the absolute cream of the crop. Following some booming percussion with rewind noises leading into the vocal, which is brooding, daunting and toyed with well, the drums suiting it to the ground. And the drop, oh my god, it's just relentless, incessant, full throttle, throws everything at you. Nice variation in synth tone too, lots going on. Really great attention to detail here in terms of note placement, tempo changes, keeps the listener on their seat for its entirety. Changes things up throughout the track so well too, in both big and small ways, a crazy energy that never lets up. The outro is also really well done, picking the song apart, breaking it down, paying respect to what's come before it, and that ending vocal sample of course.
Excuse me.
Another artist very much flying the bass house flag is Brohug, a trio who I feel deserve much more recognition for the part they're playing in that scene. They haven't been around for that long, but they've already set up the Bro House label and have a number of collaborations to their name, and this remix is one of my undoubted favourites of theirs. Another track that lures us in with an innocent vocal, very dreamy with those twinkly notes, and a really pleasant underlying hum to it. Going from 0 to 100 straight into the build and drop, the vocal chopping is when we know it's being contorted. And the drop is quite straightforward, but the note progression is insane, every sound having its own space, and those croaky breaks are so good. With the second drop being near identical, just with more percussion, makes it more energetic. Massive fan of these slight alterations. Probably the most simple track of the 10 here, but my god is it effective in what it wants to deliver. Another not too well known producer who has caught my attention over the last couple of years is Burn the Disco, and Burnout is my undoubted favourite of his so far. This chamber-like beginning is properly unnerving, really crisp trap intro with so many clean sounds, lovely stuff. That Burn the Disco vocal sample just before the drops is also spot on. This is what he's about, and he's about to deliver something mighty. With the drop itself being properly deep and mechanical, industrial sounds in another really bouncy backdrop, winding and infectious. I'll just play the vocal sample and drop together now so I can show you exactly what I mean. Oh, it's such a vibe, man. I absolutely love it. I also love the constancy of the brief sections following the drops, very menacing, the tone and length of which are perfect. I also really enjoy the repetition in this track. It knows its strong points and just gives you more of that, delivering wave after wave of this emphatic sound. It's top notch. Another Australian following Seek and Destroy, Vengeance introduced himself to the scene with this explosive debut track From the Gutter. Again, my undoubted favourite of his so far. I love the extended intro and build, developed and layered so well. Many points where you think it's going to break into the last bit of the build, but it doesn't. And the sampling throughout is really first rate. This is where this track gets its character and personality from. You've got Eminem in there, another rap vocal sped up, slowed down at different pitches. And the drops are just terrifying, gnarly and nasty, but so well assembled. Brilliant array of sounds on show, but not too many. Again, it never lets up. Woo! Mad energy, boy! Slight changes in the second drop keep it ticking along really nicely, both samples and wubs. You're engaged from beginning to end. Potentially the most unforgiving track of the 10, properly savage, dark as hell from the very first second. Following that, we have the remix of IYFFE's Abducted Cowboy by Erotic Cafe, an artist who has delved into several dark electronic music genres in his time, but for me this definitely represents his most ambitious and adventurous project to date. So much so that I called it my second favourite remix from the whole of 2015, behind Ray Volpe's edit of Runnin' by No Applause. Really serious energy to this one from the off. I adore the epic galactic scene that he sets up, all the mood transitions. It's firing on all cylinders. And the drop continues in that vein with everything rebounding off each other so well. Mad attention to detail here again, great wealth of sounds, a hurricane of rapid exchanges.
This song doesn't even make sense.
And the half drop is such a good development, it gets better, so creative, a really mind-boggling listen considering the amount that goes on and how well constructed it is.
Fuck everything.
What a tune! The drums are also madly varied and so appropriate for all their respective sequences. Would genuinely say I don't think I've encountered a track like this one since hearing it. A real story to this remix and so heavy in its many forms. Now another not too well known artist is Chris Bushnell, who again has a few stellar tracks to his name, with Spitter for me being the peak of his endeavours thus far. I love the dynamic of the introducing drums, the beat, the layout of them, setting the overall tone for the track really well. And the vocal is iconic, really captures the playful and outlandish essence of the tune, I think. And the drop is just, so tribal, animalistic, primal, mindless in sound but so well controlled. The timing of all the synths, how they're spaced out, the changes in the progressions too. A bass house track that doesn't fill all the space. Interesting in that respect actually, a mutation of the standard structure. I have the image of some sort of creature, maybe a zombie, lashing out at everything in its path. It's so raw, almost frightening. But it also has its cheeky moments like the animal noises in the outro, a song to really take you out of your comfort zone. Just a really solid track, hits in such a sweet spot, just one hit of that terrorising sound after another in the drops. And lastly, a duo that should be seen as one of the go-to bass house artists who are doing wonders for the scene with a very distinctive sound. Dusty Bits already have an album to their name, but for me it's their remix of Working For It by Skrillex and Jauz that stands as the best representation of their style so far. The start of the build here is so juicy. I love the jumpy 80s disco notes atop that bouncy backdrop. The drop being a fantastic moving on point in its heaviness. I love its staggered nature. Timing again here is key. The tears are so well distributed. The drums are really on point throughout. Perfect sound, volume, timing, pitch, snappiness. I can't really find a bad one. The second drop being a more contained, boiled down development. The sounds are really meaty and oozy. Gotta rate the change up here. It plods along really well. Just exactly what you'd want from a bass house remix of that track. Incorporates elements from the original really well, but still has their sound clearly stamped all over it. And if you enjoy that tune, then I also recommend checking out their remix of Smother Shit by Hero Bust. Another great edit from them. And so there we have it, guys, for the first volume of the 10 amazing underrated bass house series. Thank you very much, and as always, for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. Which of these tracks had you heard before and enjoy? Which other bass house tunes do you love and feel deserve more appreciation? Let me know in the comments below. If you did enjoy this video, then be sure to give it a big old thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, hitting that notification bell along the way so you can be notified whenever I upload to the Nawtystep channel. Next to my head there should be a link to the last video I did in this series on the trap genre, so be sure to check that out if you enjoyed this one. As well as some examples of other stuff on the channel, Nawtystep is all about exploring dark electronic music through a multitude of genres, reviewing EPs, albums, events, compilations, top 5s, top 10s, all sorts. Lastly, don't forget to like and follow Nawtystep across all social media if you haven't already, with everything linked, including all the songs mentioned in this video, in the description box down below. And lastly, if it's naughty, then you know, guys, so be sure, as always, to keep it naughty and stay safe. And I shall see all of you folks in the next one. Peace out.